All right. We'll just use this as kind of a,
So it is 2:03, and we're going to call this meeting of the Mont Vernon School Board to order. I believe we are entering non-public session. Do you have the RSA handy?
91-A, 3, 2, subsection A and B.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to enter non-public? Thank you. Do we have a second? Let's do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes. I thought yes.
Lawrence, yes. So we're going to enter non-public session at 2:04.
All right, we'll leave this open, but it will be video off until we come back. All right, and we're back in public.
Okay, so do we have a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session?
I think motion to send minutes to non-public.
Do I have a second for that motion? I'll second.
And is the motion because the reason for sealing is because it could affect the reputation of someone not a member of the board?
Okay, so Jess, you seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Yes. And Lawrence, yes. So thank you. So the board, we need to vote too.
Yep.
So do we have a motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Kimberly Sarti?
Motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Kimberly Sarti as board motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that motion? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Yes. And Lawrence, yes. Thank you. So having accepted that resignation, Superintendent Steele, can you just describe to us the search process that's going to ensue?
Indeed. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have posted the job for principal of the Mont Vernon Village School. It's been posted for a number of days already, and we've received some applications. And so the search process will kick off on August 2nd. We're planning to have screening interviews with myself, a board representative, and some of our senior administrators from the SAU. We'll do that on August 2nd. On August 3rd, the plan is to have a committee that interviews candidates and a second subcommittee consisting of all of the teachers and staff from the village school who wish to participate. Some of those will represent that group on the interview committee itself, but I wanted to make sure that all of the staff at the village school who wanted to participate would have the opportunity to do so that day. And then if any finalists are determined from the committee, then we'll do finalist interviews on August 9th in that morning. And if we get to the point where we think we will have a finalist to bring forward, I'll ask if the Mont Vernon School Board would be willing to meet that night to approve the candidate. And so if all goes well, we'll shoot for August 9th to have this process wrapped up. But the reality is it's July, and the pool of candidates is probably not at its deepest at this time of year. And so I'm already efforting potential interim principals for the upcoming school year. And hopeful that process will bear fruit as well. But working on that as kind of a parallel track in case the search process doesn't produce the type of candidate that we would like for the school.
Great, thank you.
If I could just offer as a comment, I'm thinking it probably would be better to proceed with the intern position than launch a search for two reasons. Number one, getting an intern person on board and then start communicating effectively with the employees, staff, and the community over the course of the next 2 months, versus having somebody come on board at the beginning of August and start the process. Number two, I don't think we're going to get the wide array of applicants that we can get if we advertise over the course of a much longer period of time as the candidate pool naturally comes to the surface, and we will apply organically in March and May and April. We can do a much more wider array of vetting process. But from my perspective, I think it's best that we actually proceed on an intern basis the school year based on where we are in the calendar year, and just getting somebody on board sooner, quicker, so we can get stuff jump started.
Other board members want to weigh in on that?
I like the idea of having a little more time and a little more effort to put into a search so that we can get someone in here that may stay for long term. But if we find someone that we like, I'd be happy to move forward at this point too. So open either way, but intern might be a good idea.
I'm on both sides. I think there's value to getting as many candidates as possible because we may find the right one. I agree with Steve, it's smaller. It's 3 weeks. That's all. Not getting somebody up to That's an educator answer. Not- I have no opinion on that. I do have a question because you've got candidates already. Are any of them from the search a year and a half ago? Reapply to this?
There were a couple of names that looked familiar. I can't remember if they were from this search a year ago or one of our other ones.
Second, third, second.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check my notes.
So based on the sort of cycle of the year, Adam,
Mhm.
is there a time, like, are there certain months where the candidate pool is typically deeper, broader? That might make more sense to hold a search. I mean, I see what you're saying, Steve, that, you know, if we're not going to find someone to get them up to speed and do what's best for the kids in the building, and if the candidate pool is not as deep as it otherwise would be at another time of year, would it better serve the school to bring on an interim instead of holding a search right now? It's a great question.
Yes, I thought through this as well. This is definitely not the ideal time to do a search. It's not. So my thought process was to follow the parallel tracks and see what the applicant pool does look like. We, believe it or not, we are an attractive place to work. I've heard that. We have people that seem interested in what we're doing here. And so the thought process was, let's see if one of those types of people applies. But while also preparing for the reality that we may not find anybody. So I'm comfortable either way. I think if we can find a decent interim, which I'm confident we should be able to, that's fine. I'm okay with that. To answer your question, I think our ideal hiring window is typically we post in like December or early January, because that's usually first out of the gate for admin hires for the next year. Superintendent hires are usually October, November are the early window for the following year. But for principal, I think December and January is the ideal time to be first out and to give people plenty of warning and all of that.
I mean, really, we're looking at a 2-week difference, right? If you were to approach someone that you think is an interim candidate and they were to accept, let's say today, they're really just getting a 2-week jump on someone else where, you know, if we're looking at that August 3 weeks.
I suppose,
Do you
yeah.
think that makes a big enough difference? Would it make a big enough difference to the summer work that happens in this building normally? If someone were to be on sooner, you know, like, are there supportive things that need to be happening now that are not happening now?
No, so we're picking up the slack for this building. So I would say let's wait a week or two before we make a final decision. We'll know what the candidate pool looks like in a week or two.
Okay.
And if it's shallow, let's pull it.
Those were next comments. How many days into the posted, you see a spike and then it starts to
Yeah.
wane.
Yeah.
So if we don't see a spike, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's been posted for 3 days and we have 9 candidates, so it says something, but
I'm comfortable proceeding with the plan as long as there's not anything that's going to be missing here.
Okay.
If you felt there was a gap or something that needs to be work that needs to be happening now that could be being done by an interim, then I would say we should definitely look at going that route. But if you're confident that the building is supported and there's no work that's going to be missed out, then I would say let's take a look at what the candidate pool is, and if there's someone or multiple people that appear to be potentially great candidates, then let's go that route.
Might the board identify their representative to the hiring process, and perhaps in a week, I can meet with that board member and review applications just to see, and that splits the difference. If we see a week from now, the pool is not good at all, we can pull out then and try to nail down an interim.
I'm just thinking of the timeline that we're talking about. So the applications, what's the deadline?
We don't usually post a deadline. We accept them until we start interviewing. So August, really, we were going to, on July 26th, 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks from today, we were going to go through and pick who we were going to interview on August 2nd. But the reality is if someone applied on July 29th, we would see that. If they were worth screening, we would at least screen them on August 2nd.
So we screen them on August 2nd. So they go ahead and they starts the 15th, the 20th.
Mhm.
School starts this year, the 28th.
Mhm.
I think about 8 days of a new principal coming in and they're trying to acclimate themselves to the community and to the family. And then from support that, setting them up for a huge benefit. I think in terms of hiring at the beginning of August, maybe hopefully within the next 2 weeks coming on board, meeting with the faculty and staff, having a group discussion, helping collaborate on the professional development stuff that we do at the beginning of the year, and getting ready to go. We have a lot of stuff that we're worried about for September, task force stuff that we're considering. I see the intern position being a more powerful position to start. Coming off the gate, get us right onto the level playing field, and then start a more written curriculum system.
Could we possibly bump the timeline back a week so that instead of it being the 2nd, it would be the 26th of July, 26th? To do that vetting process and then interviewing on the 2nd, so that if someone were chosen, they would have more. I mean, I know it's not a huge difference, Steve, but would at least give them.
I'm open to whatever the board chooses. Either, any of that works for me.
And then that way too, if we were choosing an interim, if Adam is able to line up an interim, that interim could potentially start on August 3rd. Do you see what I'm saying? So it would give them the entire month of August. If it looks like there's no viable candidate, then the entire month of August could be managed with, the interim could hit the ground running that way. Yeah. But if there's 9 candidates already.
End of business next Wednesday. Basically, 5 days, 5 business days.
Well, and here's the thing, if on the 26th of July, Adam and the administrative team says there are no viable candidates for this round, then it actually is a week sooner. It's actually, you're just putting it off for basically a week, 10 days, to say, okay, if there are no viable candidates by July 26th, then we put the brakes on. Adam takes the next couple of days to talk with whomever he feels are interim candidates and bring them forward to us, and we can say, yes, move forward with the interim and let's take the search in another couple months. I mean, that pulls it back. If you pulls it back to July 26th, really, because you would know on that date whether if you want to put people forward to interview or not. Is that enough of a time frame, do you think, to keep a window open for application?
It's all less than ideal, starting with the time frame, but it's probably worth the effort to see.
I guess I'd like to be able to at least explore that opportunity. I totally see where you're coming from. I want to hear, I mean, we should probably put it to a vote to say, do we want to keep the application process open or go an interim route?
It's so hard to know because there could be some great candidates out there right now. Is it worth the risk of waiting to see when we could get someone started right now? I don't know.
So right now, if the timeline were bumped back, it seems like it's a 10-day buffer that we're looking at if we dial it back. So are we willing to accept a 10-day risk? Is the question. And I say risk, I don't really mean risk, but we're willing to risk 10 days of a buffer, hearing that the administration feels that everything is in place and secure here, and that if someone were to start, whether it be an interim or a new principal, a new hire, that they would be okay to start and support it.
Their first official day is the 23rd, and then the 26th is, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong month. The 27th, and then the 30th is welcome back day, and we start school on the 31st. So Friday, the 27th is the first official day.
And team building concept. if we hire an intern to start in the second year.
If it were scheduled with a facilitator
Correct.
in advance, like if the time were blocked out, I don't, it's kind of plug and play. Whatever staff is here would be the person that would go and be the leader in that instance. So I don't think from a team building perspective, if that was a choice for professional development and to get the building up and running, I don't think it's going to sound wrong. The person doesn't matter. It's the slot that matters and having the time blocked out, I would think. And then whoever the choice is would fit into that slot and be able to run with it.
And so if I could just pose this as a question, so by the 21st.
August or,
21st of July,
okay,
a week from today.
Yep.
You guys would determine whether or not we're going to proceed with the current applicant pool. And then we would meet on the 28th to appoint a intern person to start on the 2nd. Monday.
Can live with that. So another week from today, we would review applicants. If the applicant pool looks strong, we continue with the process. If it does not, the board meets on the 28th to appoint somebody to start on August 2nd. Am I hearing you right, Mr. O'Keefe?
Just- I'm really worried about it before. We need a leader. That's my concern. The longer we wait, it just interferes with the process. It's so important.
so is everybody comfortable with that if we follow that as a timeline? Leave it open for a week.
Just seems really fast, but
But to me, if there are people out there who are interested in the position, they would likely be ready to apply.
yeah,
And if that's the case, then we would know and we would be able to move forward. And if it's not the case, then we would know and be able to put on the brakes and say, we need to extend the search option.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
I would vote towards having it open for another week and see what the pool looks like. Then move it quickly. It's no, go left, and if it's yes, interview.
Go
I
right.
understand and agree with Stephen's concern. But I just feel like, you know, who knows? If we get 18 candidates, we may find that one. Don't interview. Or if we don't at least review.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the normal?
Sounds like you're on the
place where
longer
you
side,
post
too.
these positions?
You'd like to keep it open
Pardon
an
me?
extra week.
What's the normal place where you post?
There's a website called edjobsnh.org that pretty much every school job in New Hampshire is placed on. And then we also placed on School Spring, which is a national website that people from other states view.
Any likely candidates that we scroll through?
Yeah, and it's on our website as well, of course.
Okay, so I think we need to come to consensus as to the timeframe. Okay, one shorter timeframe, one longer timeframe. You fall in where? I'm kind of in the middle.
If you did find a pool of applicants that were interested, when would their start be?
As soon as possible. We would have to work with another school district on their release date. So one reality is, or one thought is that we hire an interim until someone's willing to start or able to start. That's another possibility, that we would have an interim anyway until the start.
I know.
I guess I'm just, I don't want to be confident, but I'm confident in the strength of the and reputation and attractiveness of this building in the educational community. Candidates, but I don't want to be naive to the fact that it is a short window.
Well, I would also like to think that if people are applying for the position this late in the season, that they would understand that it would be to hit the ground running and to start quickly. So I would hope that that would be already a factor in an applicant's consideration, that it would need to be, I would say a quick turn, but a pivot to be able to start here and appropriately support the building.
Agreed.
Okay.
I mentioned awesome school.
Awesome school board.
It is true.
Awesome school board. Okay,
Get
so
that in the minutes.
thank you for putting that in. We should have captured that. So we need to decide what we're going to direct Adam to do. Stephen, I hear your point. I see that you're on the very short or interim point. Pete, you're on the,
I've been given another week.
so you're on
The
the,
leadership team takes a look at the applicants and makes a decision for pivot towards interim because of.
so that's
lack
the
of a
26th of
viable
the second. The
candidate.
26th of the second would be your vote. Okay.
And then if we find some candidates, we interview them, pedal to the metal.
Okay. So Jess, where do you fall on this?
I know I'm struggling because I really agree more with Stephen, like we should just go with interim, but maybe it wouldn't hurt to do an extra week to see, in a week to see if there's anything good, but I guess I'm really leaning more towards just going with an interim.
Okay, so you're leaning more towards going with the interim. I'm leaning more towards waiting the week and keeping it open. So because we have only 4 board members, I believe the fun task of the tiebreaker falls to me. Is that correct? Or what do we do? when
Not
we're
really. So
At
if,
an
if,
impasse, what happens?
if there's no motion on the table, then nothing happens. If
Okay,
there's a motion and the motion doesn't get a majority and it's 2-2, it fails.
okay,
So it's,
So I will make a motion. I'll make a motion to keep the applicant process open until July the 21st, where the chair and the superintendent review candidates and determine whether or not we're going to proceed with an interim appointment to start on August the 2nd. The school board meeting on the 28th. The new principal. We do an interim. And the hiring process has to have the principal. It's going to start no later than the 16th.
okay. And if that process on the 21st looks like there are viable candidates, interviews would start on the 26th and then proceed on August 2nd.
That's
Is that okay in your motion? So that's a compromise, which I think encompasses everyone's feelings. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. O'Keefe has stepped away for just a second, but we can start a roll call vote unless there is discussion. Any discussion, Jess? No. Any discussion? Comfortable?
you don't technically need a roll call vote because we're all in person.
Oh, okay. So, all in favor, did you want to discuss that? Maybe I stepped away. Okay, so all in favor?
Motion carries.
Okay, that motion carries. So thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you for the very thoughtful discourse. We all really want what's best for this building, so I really appreciate it, though it's a challenge. There's compromise here and clearly passion for the building, so I appreciate that.
All right.
I don't believe we have anything else that we need to discuss today.
Nothing further.
Okay, so just for public's information, we do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow where we will be conducting some interviews for the open board seat. So I believe there's 2 candidates that will be present for those interviews. I'm not sure about the other 2 candidates, if they're able to be present or not, but we'll be doing at least 2 interviews tomorrow. Awesome. We have.
You can do
so-
public input. Yeah.
So if anyone has any input, you can enter that into the, I believe, Zoom chat box.
Would you like them to be able to speak to
Could
us
you-
as well?
Yeah, you can do that if anyone has any questions or you're running the show there, Superintendent Steele. so.
Indeed. So if anyone would like to speak, if you could raise your hand, use the raise hand function and we can unmute you. No hands, Madam Chair.
Okay. And did you mention that with the search committee that we would be looking for a public member as well? You mentioned
Yes,
that.
the search committee will be inviting a member of the public to join as well as a parent, a PTA representative, teachers, staff members, everything.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn? Thanks.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned at 2:40. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.